Think you've seen it all? Think again.
Outside those doors,
We might see anything.
we could find new worlds.
Terrifying monsters. Impossible things. And if you come with me, nothing will ever be the same again.
Come on. Let's go.
Doctor Who, coming soon to BBC One.
Welcome to Time for 13, a Doctor Who podcast. Joining me as always is Rob.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for coming on and doing this again.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
So let's dig into the age of Tennant.
Yes.
So this David Tennant obviously is one of the most beloved doctors of the modern era and actually of all time, and it's easy to see why, because man, that dude has the role down. He hits the ground running, like right from the start. He really knows what he wants to do and is full bore with it, and the scripts are right there with them. It's amazing how they can shift between doctors, because as we'll see as time goes, that is not an easy shift when the same writer is writing for a new sort of lead actor. But boy, Russell T Davies and David Tennant and Billy Piper are all very much in sync when this gets rolling.
What I was surprised at, I think I mentioned this last time. So, I've seen parts of Tennant and Eccleston, and this is the first time I'm actually watching it in order, continuously. I can't believe how this series matures so quickly.
Yeah.
From series one.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Everything is better. The cinematography, the shot composition, the music, the effects, the acting. You just go, wow. I mean, this is like Star Trek: The Next Generation, like without a season 2.
Right. That's right.
They just went from season 1 to season 3, and you go, what? This is amazing now. What happened?
Yeah, was there like a dozen missing episodes that we're just not seeing?
Exactly. No, really, kudos to the people when they were obviously developing this. It's an incredible amount of growth, and we'll talk about this as we go on. Yeah. Incredible amount of growth for a second season of a show.
The thing that surprises me about it is not only that they're so good already, but they're so good together. Like now, Billy Piper obviously now is the veteran. Like she's done 13 episodes, 14. By the time this goes, and she has a brand new lead actor that she has to train, and yet the two of them already have a very, very different chemistry right from the start. Right. Like, and it's not even that obviously the first episode, there's that we're getting to know each other thing and not quite sure, but by the first episode, the first proper episode after the Christmas special, they already have a rapport. They already have a very different feeling than she did with Christopher Eccleston.
Well, and obviously you can go into the whole idea of the chemistry between the actors. She clearly, David Tennant, will be clear, very, very handsome man, very dashing. You can see them just connecting better, just from that sort of appearance. But I'll tell you, you know what? She really develops as an actress. There will be an episode we'll talk about, many episodes from now when we talk about Karen Gillan. And there's a certain episode in my mind where you just went, "Whoa, Karen Gillan can act."
Yeah.
This is the season where I went, Billy Piper can act.
Yeah.
Like, okay, wow, she's got some great acting chops that come through in a few of these episodes.
Yeah. And I always think of David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, I should say. This is what's weird about being a Whovian, is that you can interchange the actor and the character by number, and everybody goes, yeah, okay, all right. I think of 9 as being the soldier returned from the war. Like he's back home and stuff. He's doing all this stuff to do, but he's a little shell shocked. He's a little not quite PTSD, but he's dealing with like what he dealt with. I think of 10 as being the greatest college professor you never had.
Yes.
But like in my mind, that's always like he's like, I got to show you this. You're not going to believe this. Oh, this is amazing. And you go, oh wow, that was really cool. What else do you have? Oh, let me show you this. Like and which will be very different than what Matt Smith brings to it. but that's how I always see it, because he's dropping knowledge all the time. Now I know the Doctor likes to pontificate too, but like the Doctor does these asides, like he's like almost like a footnote. I think of the one from the werewolf episode, Tooth and Nail, where he's like, "Oh, you know, the king actually did that. He actually reduced the size of this gem." Like he's just like giving you a little historical pontificating aside. Whereas like it's different to see how someone else would have played it differently, because even as we see over the course of Tennant's run, he gets less vulnerable. Like with Eccleston, he really felt like he doesn't have any powers. Like he knows some stuff, but he's in danger. Like I can think of the scene where the gas zombies have them pinned up against the wall, and he's like legitimate, like, this is where I'm going to die here. Like he's legitimately afraid for his life. But any other Doctor would play that very differently, because you never really get a lot of fear from 10.
Well, and I think
he never really is scared, because he always sort of had, he's always just like, 3 steps ahead thinking of things.
One of the things I really like though too in this season is that they do deal though with his sense of loss. And, and in a way that, and we'll get into that, we'll just dive in, like that sense of loss and his ability to realize, I'm going to go on, I'm going to ostensibly live forever, but I don't want to see all these people that I have grown to have affection for and to love to pass away. Yeah. And I think that's a really, again, I love that they decided to tackle this, because I don't think you ever really got, few times at least, in the original classic Who, did you ever really get that level of the Doctor's, his loneliness, so to speak, really come through.
That's very true. The difference between them, Russell T Davies is very much investigating the idea of the lonely God.
Correct.
And they refer to him that sometimes too, or the vengeful God, like the idea that he is above everything, and then even he, as we'll see over the course of the thing, he sort of ends up taking that in, and like it ends up inflating his ego to that point where he thinks that he is the Lord of Time. But we started to see some of that stuff here, and like you say, the detachment and that, and then he is also filled with regret. You can see that a lot of times, that he, as opposed to the other Doctors, the way he deals with what they did in the Time War is that he is. It's sort of an open wound. He is constantly like, he doesn't try to think about it, but when he does, he's filled with that guilt and that remorse. Was it the one who regrets and the one who forgets? Isn't that how the War Doctor refers to them, or the moment refers to them?
There we go.
So let's get into the actual season then. Okay, so the first time we see them together is actually not the Christmas Invasion. Did you know about the Children in Need special?
Oh, I completely forgot to check that out. I did.
Yeah, so there is a little piece that they did for Children in Need is a children's charity, and that's, if you see the red noses around, like Walgreens is big on selling it, that's Children in Need. It's a thing that's been going on in England for decades at this point. And they do big celebrity charity telethon thing, and they get all these people to contribute this stuff to it. And one of the things, every year Doctor Who does a thing for it. It used to be that they actually would have a little extended something or other. As it went along, it now has become they sort of do almost like skits. They have like individual little one-off episodes, sometimes written by I found one online that was written by kids. They like had students at a school write an episode and that sort of thing. But back in this time, and it will be for the next couple of years, they actually do a piece of real Doctor Who, like an actual real scene. And so this is the first one they've ever done, was this, which is they call it Born Again, even though it doesn't appear anywhere. It's just where the fans have sort of christened it. And it's the moment from when the Doctor regenerates into 10 up until he lands on Christmas. So it's basically what Rose's reaction is to seeing this new Doctor, because by the time we see her in Christmas Invasion, she's like, "Oh no, this is the Doctor. This is what he's like."
Right.
But they actually, so I have a little piece of that. It's the whole. If you can find online, I'd search for it. Just Doctor Who Children in Need 2006, because Christmas, it's on the edge, and so it's about 3 or 4 minutes long. I have just a little piece of it to say about her sort of reacting to this new person, this new face on the man that she's been traveling with.
I'm the Doctor.
Where is he? Where's the Doctor? What have you done to him?
You saw me. I changed right in front of you.
I saw him sort of explode, and then you replaced him like a teleport or a transnet or a body swap or something. You're not fooling me. I've seen all sorts of things. Nanogenes, Gelf, Slivine. Oh my God, are you Slivine?
I'm not a Slovene.
Send him back. I'm warning you. Send the doctor back right now.
Rose, it's me. Honestly, it's me. I was dying. To save my own life, I changed my body. Every single cell, but still me.
You can't be.
So that gives you a little piece of. I didn't realize it would be that quiet. It didn't show that way on my thing. So
Okay, wait though. The
blast your
acting,
eardrums by having to crank up the volume.
the acting alone has already improved. Just listening to that without even seeing it, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a nice little. It's just a two of them in the room together. Because from what I have read, Billie Piper was not even there when the regeneration scene was filmed. Like she was off filming something else. So like when he actually shows up and is saying Barcelona and stuff, like he was reacting to no one. So this was like the first time they actually were on screen together. But I think this actually was shot later because there's a bit of a retcon because when he shows up in the Christmas Invasion, he asks about how he looks, and they've already had that conversation. But
Gotcha.
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. So that played for everyone, and then they got to watch Christmas Special a couple of days later. So then, okay, so we get to Christmas Invasion, and my only complaint with Christmas Invasion is not enough Tennant. Like,
Interesting.
I get what they're doing, and I understand that, but it's like, oh man, like having the Doctor sidelined for half the episode. Oh
And he's
man.
out cold. Okay, so wait. Do we have to do alternate title? Okay, so
so Christmas Invasion, alternately known as
The Happening 2, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Okay, because here's the deal. Okay, first of all, we'll get into the happening part later.
Sure.
Okay, those robot Santas.
Yeah, what was up with that?
The slice and dice Christmas tree.
Yeah,
legitimately frightening.
Right.
And I mean, if you were like 7 years old and watching this, you'd be done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great. You can tell that Russell sort of like fell in love with this idea of robot Santas and flamethrowers coming out of trombones and that stuff, and a killer Christmas tree. At the same time, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like,
oh no,
where the heck? I mean, like, because later on we meet the Sycorax, and I'm like, okay, clearly the Sycorax would not send a killer Christmas tree. So why? Who? When? Like, where was? I know he calls them pilot fish, and I get that. Like, I understand the metaphor of they're the ones sniffing around. They're not the main threat. They're the ones sniffing around. But who sent them?
Yeah.
Where are they from? Who's controlling them?
Are they
aliens themselves, or are they just robots that someone sent? Because those masked Santas will show up again later, and just being controlled by someone else.
And I'll tell you this: as much as I found that actually summarizes, I think, most of this season. This is outrageous, ludicrous insanity, but it's done well, and I'm hooked. Right? Like you're watching it going, this is absurd, and yet you're still like, okay, I'm in for the ride because the acting and everything has gotten better. But I'm being intentionally nitpicky, but because there are great visuals and stuff, just being chased down the lane through all the Christmas shopping by evil Santas. All right. You're right. Yeah, bring it on. So we do have the interesting, I love after every regeneration, we always deal with some sort of new, well, what went wrong, or what's a one-off. And then we have sort of the interesting idea that he's still baking, because of things that happen. And I just think that's interesting because, again, the show has dealt with that so differently in the last 50 years that it's funny to see everyone try to come up with new takes on it every time it happens. That's right. Every time there's a new doctor, there's always like, okay, how's he going to react to this? What's his regeneration sickness going to be like? And it's also interesting to watch the fans have to go through it too. Like we all went through regeneration sickness too, because it's like, but I like the last guy. What's this guy doing? I remember that being a big thing with Matt Smith when he first showed up, where it's like, this guy with the huge chin running around, what is he doing? And then over the course of 4 or 5 episodes, you're like, oh yeah, I love him. He's the best. He's the greatest. Why did I ever think anything differently? But I like the fact though that we've got Harriet Jones, Harriet Jones, Prime Minister. There's some really cool moments. Obviously, it's a little absurd. The what is it? The Sycorax. Sycorax, yeah. Sycorax. Obviously a little bit of a paper villain in that big shiny, big scary teeth. They should be able to just wipe everything out very quickly and somehow, it's a sword fight at the end. I thought that was a little weird.
And that's what you're talking about with the embrace the adventure part of it, and that's
Right.
exactly what it is. Like, it's the Doctor in his pajamas having a sword fight with an alien hovering over London. Yeah, all right, bring it on.
But I'll tell you this: that's when he cuts off the hand.
Yeah,
Like if you're a longtime fan, you go, wait, what happens now? And of course, I do like the little play with the whole, oh, well, it's in the first 15 hours, so I can
still do this.
I mean, if you're a salamander, that's cool, I guess. Like,
and it's a fighting hand.
yeah, I mean, again, so absurd, but done so well that you're laughing and you're going, I get the joke. Go ahead, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I think. I mean, he spends a lot. Russell spends a lot of time, with the family, so we get to see all of them around him. Obviously, she wakes the Doctor up by saying, "Help me," which I thought was great. And he pops up with it instantly reacts to the thing and knows what's setting on the sonic and blasts it, and then immediately falls back asleep. But we get to spend so much time with the family,
right?
Still,
yeah.
I like Mickey. Mickey's starting to come into his own, but Jackie.
Well, I'll tell you, Mickey has, obviously, as we'll get to the end of the season, has an amazing character arc.
Yeah.
Oh my God, though, the mother, I can't.
Yeah,
I just can't.
Well, as much as it annoys me that he's sidelined for most of it, they did build up to it so that he makes one of the best entrances, and I actually have that. Right. So, we're going to come in a little bit later. So I love Rose trying to be the Doctor, trying to negotiate, and citing the names of all the characters that she has encountered and met and everything, and then like the Secret's just laughing at her. So we're going to come in slightly after she's tried to be the Doctor and couldn't.
Did you think you were clever? With your stolen words.
Cora, Feci! Cora!
We are the Sycorax. We stride the darkness. Next to us, you are but a wailing child.
If so
you are the best your planet can offer as a champion,
then your world
will be gutted.
And your people enslaved.
Hold on, that's English.
He's talking English.
You're talking English.
I would never dirty my tongue with your primitive viola.
That's English. You were English?
Yeah, that's English. Definitely English.
I speak only Sycorax!
If I can hear English, and it's being translated, which means it's working, which means...
Did you miss me?
It's just perfect. It's just like it builds up. You have there's so much trouble and stuff, and the way the camera it does like a one shot, especially that she's saying that as Rose is figuring it out, and they walk over and the music swells and the doors open and he comes striding out like the Doctor in all of his glory, and you're like, yes.
It's very well done. You did make me realize though, I forgot how Klingon-y the.
They are very Klingon.
Very clear. It's incredibly Klingon-y. Now, okay, so
big red button. I mean, such.
Oh yeah, interesting part though is so then he comes out and he has the sword fight, and two moments surprised me is how dark he gets.
Yes.
One, that he allows the leader to basically die, right? He lets them, right? And he understands how that's going to play. But when it kind of fast forward to the end, where he tells them you have to leave now because I've defeated your leader. They're taking off, and Harriet Jones brings out the Torchwood, and Torchwood has a Death Star gun that's apparently like over the course of all over the island of England, blows up the ship.
Yeah,
and okay, Doctor's obviously pissed.
Yep, I have that audio too, and I know it feels like it's. This is not how the rest of the episode today will go.
No!
I
This is
love
awesome.
the Christmas invasion, and it has some of my favorite moments.
Do it.
So I have
Do it.
This is one of my favorite things. So so Harriet Jones has used Torchwood to blow up the ship, even though they were running away, and the Doctor is not having it, and he decides to take his vengeance.
That was murder. That was defense. It's adapted from alien technology. A ship that fell to Earth 10 years ago.
But they were leaving.
You said yourself, Doctor. They'd go back to the stars and tell others about the Earth. I'm sorry, Doctor, but you're not here all the time. You come and go. It happened today. Mr. Llewellyn and the Major. They were murdered. They died right in front of me while you were sleeping. In which case, we have to defend ourselves.
Britain's golden age.
It comes with a price.
I gave them the wrong warning.
I should have told them to run. As fast as they can. Run and hide, because the monsters are coming. The human race.
Those are the people I represent. I did it on their behalf.
And I should have stopped you.
What does that make you, Doctor? Another alien threat?
Don't challenge me, Harriet Jones, because I'm a completely new man. I could bring down your government with a single word.
You're the most remarkable man I've ever met. But I don't think you're quite capable of that.
No, you're right. Not a single word. Just 6.
I don't think so.
6 words.
Stop it.
6. Don't you think she looks tired?
Oh man.
Now here's what I got to say to that. Put down the Sean Hannity playbook. What the heck, dude? That was harsh.
It was harsh. And I actually was doing research for this. I found a fan thing that says because he does this, because he basically goes way out of proportion, like because she was supposed to be the architect of Britain's golden age. Because he does this, it is the chain reaction that causes everything that will eventually lead to his death. Like they put together, like because of it, because she's gone, there's a power vacuum. Which Mr. Saxon then steps in, and like all this, like they went like this creates this begets this, and I was like, oh wow. So like really in that moment was really, even though I'm sure it was it wasn't like planned by them. He is sowing the seeds of his own death.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought
okay. Right.
I just thought it was I thought it was incredibly dark.
Yes, and so we get to see this Doctor very much has a dark side.
Yes,
like he's not just the happy-go-lucky running around the universe. Like he really has, and like I said, no second chances. Well,
right.
Yeah, he's not going to let her get a chance to do something like that again. So
no, you're right.
Obviously,
no, this is good.
The arc word, obviously, Torchwood. Torchwood becomes a big thing because we get to see sort of why Torchwood was created and how it came about.
Torchwood, a big running part of this whole season, actually.
That's right. It becomes it becomes the recurring thing for us, and then leading into the eventual creation of Torchwood as a spin-off series. Torchwood, an anagram of Doctor Who.
Right.
And also the hand. The hand is going to be coming back too. His hand just chops off and falls in there, but the hand actually becomes a major plot point later on too. So they don't forget much in the Doctor Who universe. We also get to see a major difference between 9 and 10 in this. In that, at one point, Rose invited 9 to come to dinner, and he says, "I don't do domestic." Well, Tennant apparently doesn't have that problem because we get to see as he picks his outfit and all that stuff. He has Christmas dinner with them, wearing the little the crowns and doing the Christmas crackers and eating the food. I mean, like he has no problem sitting down with people and having a nice meal.
Which again, though, it actually is a theme I think of the whole season. A little bit more of a human and shall I say flirty and shall I say a socializing Doctor that you really just haven't gotten. I don't think you've gotten that actually since Peter Davison.
Yeah.
If you go to Classic Who, definitely you see that in this character, and which makes sense because he's a big fan of Peter Davison.
We'll talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, so I there's also apparently there was a cut line, and I think that actually this might come up later on in that they say the Doctor can take on aspects of his companions if they're around when he regenerates. They say the line, I guess, in the episode that was cut was like a chick imprinting on who it sees first.
Oh, interesting.
So there was that was they were sort of like implying that because Rose was there, he's a little bit more human or a little bit more emotional or something, just because she was around.
Oh.
And so we kind of see some of like how the Doctors are a little bit different when their companions are there. But I don't know, it's just one of those fan theories, I guess, at this point, because it was not officially canon. But I always thought that was interesting. So yeah, Christmas Invasion, one of my favorite episodes. I think I watched that, if not every Christmas, at least every other Christmas. I usually fast forward through.
And also, I guess last
the
note
first
on
half hour
is that it starts the tradition. They did it right as a test to see how it would go over at Christmas. It goes over obviously well, and then there you have the tradition of the Christmas episodes.
That's right. And so we're going to see a lot of Christmas specials. I think 10. They've done 10 Christmas specials since then. Yeah, I guess 11 if you include the. Well, I don't know because there's a special called 10 Doctors, 10 Christmases, but I'm not sure if that includes the Charles Dickens episode from the last episode. That was at Christmas too, but oh well. So move on to episode 1, New Earth, alternately known as
Planet of the Cats escapes from convent hospital. Now, there is an alternative title
Oh, okay. Alternate.
A much less original Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Oh, hey. Very appropriate.
There we go. That sums it all up, right?
It's one of those episodes where I'm like, I was sort of like going, oh yeah, the cats and the hospital and stuff too. And I watched it and I'm like, oh my God, this is a great episode.
I loved it.
It
I
is
actually
such
really
a
did.
romp.
Yeah.
Return of Cassandra and really good makeup effects.
Yes.
Like the cats look great.
The Sisters of Plenitude.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll tell you this. They looks great. I was totally engrossed in it.
Yeah.
Huge comedic romp for Billy Piper, who is absolutely amazing, and David Tennant as well, because he gets the whole idea of Cassandra embodying their bodies. Phenomenally funny. And then you have the face of Bo. You have a nice little, I just think bringing back some of those characters from Eccleston's first or second episode. I just thought it was a nice continuity that put a whole new spin on it.
Yeah, it's way better than I had remembered it. And yeah, because you're saying, I love a good body swapping episode because it gives the actors something fun to do their impressions of the other actors that they've worked with for so long. So yeah, watching the Cassandra thing go from doctor to companion to eventually to her. I can't remember his name now. Her Argyle guy.
Igor. I just called him Igor.
Yeah, Igor, or Gollum as they refer to him.
Right.
That it's so much fun just watching, even just in a scene, having to switch characters back and forth. I can think of when they're climbing the ladder and it keeps going back and forth. Then he switches to the doctor and demands her to get out of Rose. And then it goes back into him, and she's like, "What are you doing? You said you were gonna."
And I'll tell you though, I again kudos to Billy Piper because the acting, you could see her become an actual great actress.
Oh yes,
because the comedy is hard. I mean, the timing has to be right, and she's just got the whole attitude and the body movements, and you're just like,
her whole posture changes.
Yeah, no, I total kudos to that. The story is what it is. It's interesting, and I was certainly entertained by just where this was going to go, and I was entertained by the performances. But interesting, continuing the mysterious face of Bo.
Yes. Who has a message for the doctor, but he's not quite ready to give it to him yet.
Right.
That will be very important later.
Also interesting, the closure of the Cassandra arc with a very merciful, kind of sweet ending.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Nice. I was like, oh, it's interesting. He didn't try and take revenge. He actually allowed her to do that, and then in a way completed the circle because she even says the last time this party was the last time someone told me that I was beautiful, and it ends up being herself.
Yeah. No, it was actually very nice.
One of the things that I had to look up because I didn't know is that when Cassandra jumps into Rose's body, she says, "Oh, good God, I'm a chav." I didn't know what a chav meant, so I had to look that up. It's actually in English. It's a derogatory term for a lower class person. It's like from a very upper class to lower class. And then I couldn't find all these examples they had were very British examples of shows that a lot of times didn't even come over here. The best example they gave that I thought would have universal appeal that our listeners would interested is Eggsy from Kingsman is a chav.
Oh, gotcha.
So that kind of like posery, tough guy, poor, but like going out with his mates and getting drunk and that kind of thing. That's what she meant. So it's very much of a higher class to lower class insult.
Gotcha.
That's what she refers to Rose as when she jumps into her. Yeah. Oh, and this is the first time we get to hear one of the recurring thing that will become almost a catchphrase for David Tennant. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We'll be hearing that a lot as the time goes by. It's interesting to see these things that were spontaneous at the moment that end up becoming a central part of the character as they go along.
And it's good. I actually think in this episode you get here's the deal. I'm surprised. Like, second episode in, and you're like, yeah, this is the doctor.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He is 100% like a different way of doing things, and I'm on board. Like, all right, this is the way you're going to go about your business.
I totally see how it took off. Like, I can completely understand pop culturally how it took off because you get it. Very likable, very enjoyable to watch. Even again, the absurdity of it all, incredibly fun 42 minutes. So yeah,
I
love it.
It's a great one. And then followed by another great episode, Tooth and Claw, alternately known as
and the interstellar werewolf in Scotland.
Oh, that's good. My thought was Kung Fu werewolves from the moon.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You have me at ninja monks.
Yeah, right.
Because when you have ninja monks, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
No, this one, Loved it. I was totally enthralled. Real danger, real tension. Actually pretty decent effects, all things considered.
All things considered, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I loved it. Real loss. You have sacrifice. You have characters that you hope don't die and they die.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what, and a very interesting planting the full original seed of Torchwood.
That's right. We get to see that's where Queen Victoria and a great Queen Victoria. It was sort of like as I was sitting in this, sort of watching it in this mode where I'm examining, I was sort of like, oh right, that's an actress. Like
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like those things where you're like, she's so good. And I was just like, oh yeah, she's also a person that they hired to play this role. It's like sometimes I don't even think about that. Like she was so
totally
good as Queen Victoria.
Great performances. I mean, seriously, I thought this was just a really great, scary episode.
Yeah.
Like you got into it. It was cool stuff. Totally got wrapped up in the story and the action. Incredibly well done. This is a good
David Tennant got to use his natural accent.
Yes.
That was one of the other things that's amazing about him is when you realize, oh yeah, he's doing all this amazing emoting and stuff, and he's also doing an accent at the same time because he's naturally Scottish. When he gets to do this stuff, it's the only time he gets in the series, I think, that he actually gets to speak how he normally speaks.
And isn't the I think I picked this up and I've read this before, that a couple things he mentions Balamory, which was like it was an old TV show, I guess, a children's program.
Yeah, there's a couple of little nods and stuff too, and then their ongoing bet. It's interesting that they already have this sort of like as the Queen Victoria says. This is the second episode. Like this, you feel like this should be like the 9th or 10th episode.
Absolutely.
Because they're so chummy. They already have this natural rapport because there's a werewolf from space going around killing people and ninja monks, and they're more concerned with getting the queen to say we are not amused.
Oh yes. Well, and I do love the constant, and this girl is naked.
Yeah.
I apologize for my nakedness.
Yeah.
My arms and ankles.
It was either her. I was going to buy either her or the Elephant Man.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, that's very funny. Yeah. Okay, I mean, we're skimming over these, but I mean, seriously, when you watch these, there are laugh out loud moments in this series that you just totally laugh at, and they're just good humor. It's not even about the story, the character, or anything. It's just a well placed joke that is well executed.
Yeah, Russell T Davies does not get enough credit for how funny he can be when he writes, because he wrote both of these, Christmas Vacation, and he wrote New Earth and Tooth and Claw, so he's like on a roll at this point.
No, absolutely.
Just really, and the thing is that he. I mean, I'm a writer, so I always look at things from like, that's why I'm mentioning him all the time. But he had a brand new actor like coming in who he'd done, he'd said 3 lines at that point, and he had to go off by himself and sit down and write these episodes, not knowing what David Tennant would really be like. I mean, most of these were written before they even started shooting. So you really had to have a firm character in your head and have the actor on board to do the exact same thing you're doing. It's the amazing mind meld that they really pull off, and you really get to see it in this episode especially. They're very much hitting on all cylinders.
The season is almost in reverse.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I could have sat down and I was gonna have my wife. I was like, oh, you need to watch this with me. Like you've seen all these episodes like piecemeal. Like sit down, and I sit down and looked at the season. And I was like, oh, maybe you should just watch the first half of the season.
or third, depending on your point.
Or because, but boy, this is a very unbalanced season as we'll get to it. But right now we're still hitting the heights.
Oh, absolutely.
So, we roll right into one of my favorite episodes of all time, School Reunion, or alternately known as.
There's 2 titles for this one. One is School of Rock 2. My teacher is a vampire bat. or amusingly, Sarah Jane and Hooch.
Oh, that's good. I'm still laughing about my teacher's a vampire bat. I love that.
I mean, I'll tell you, you know what? This episode, I had seen so many pieces of it because there are so many phenomenal scenes that if you're a classic Who fan, obviously you care about. This was brilliant. I'll tell you what, if you had to continue to come up with ways to snag old school fans of this show, this is the episode that should totally bring you back.
Yeah, and this is the first one that they explicitly come out and say he's the same doctor. Now, they had made references to stuff in the back, but it wasn't until this that they actually went, no, this is 100% the same guy.
Right, absolutely.
That was great, yeah, because we get to see, not only do we see Anthony Stewart Head from Buffy, one of my favorites, but we get to see the return of Sarah Jane Smith, Elizabeth Sladen.
Elizabeth Sladen, who is brilliant and beautiful. And obviously, I mean, just phenomenal.
Anyone who had watched any of the third and fourth Doctor,
Yes.
was in love with her.
Yes.
And to see her come back and be fan, and from this got a sort of a resurgence in her career. She got the Sarah Jane Adventures became a spinoff eventually. Right. She got their own show for a while, and then of course left us way too soon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that was hard. Cancer, man.
Yeah. No.
She found out, and then 4 months later she was gone.
And it's so awesome because a little bit. I mean, just a little side note about her. She sounds like she was an amazing person.
Yeah.
Just as a human, right? And as and apparently she kept it really under wraps that she was sick.
Yeah.
My understanding is that she died and people went, whoa, wait, what? Like people who've known her for years were like, what happened? And just she phenomenal.
I remember she died I think in the spring, and I went to a convention that year 3 or 4 months later, and one of the writers of Doctor Who was there, Paul Cornell, who wrote a bunch of the episodes, but most notably I can't come with the title right now, but it's where the Doctor becomes human for a time. That's in David Tennant's. I think it's in the next season.
Oh, okay.
Where he goes undercover as a human and then forgets all about his memories and stuff too. He wrote that episode. But he was talking on a panel and started talking about her and how amazing she was. And there's a guy in the audience who had not heard. And he had this guy had to break it to this longtime Who fan that she was gone, and it was one of these oh wow, yeah. So it was fast and brutal, but seeing this again just makes me it brings back my nostalgia. How I will admit though, when she says goodbye to the Doctor, I was in tears because there's multiple levels of stuff going on in there too.
Interesting again, part of this whole season's arc about loss and the Doctor, the lonely Doctor, giving you that companion's take on, because how often in a classic Who and even to this point in the series, you can have an old time companion show up, right? For the most part, to get that whole the companion's perspective of loss and the loneliness and how what could they do? Really well done. I mean, they're exploring some really good themes that for the show. I mean, wow, second time for the second season of The Return. This is good meaty stuff. And again, the performances just take it over the top. It's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, they really, like you're saying, they really got to dig in on some of this stuff and have these intense conversations. And it's for a lighthearted time traveling adventure show. They actually have this moment they can sit down and go, "You left me, you abandoned me," to actually confront the things that he has done in the past, and him, sort of owning up to it.
And let me add, in addition, this episode has the crazy scene of actually getting heartfelt over the loss of a metal dog.
Yes. Yes. Because those of us who were longtime fans there, when I was a kid when I saw that, I loved K9. It was he's a robot dog. It's the best.
I will fully admit that in 8th grade, I made a full-size K9 replica out of poster board.
Oh.
And it was amazing. And my parents were very nice to allow me to keep it in the house for I think 6 months. And then, of course, we had to destroy it because it literally took up too much space. Bringing him back, phenomenally done. But that scene where he says, "I'm gonna go do this," and you're a good dog, and that's awesome. It's really well done.
Oh yeah, it's really good. I have one piece of audio. I'm not going to play because I don't want to start bawling. So I didn't pull any of the audio from that. But one of the things is I'm a big and obviously there's a great meta moment too. You can see I like about this one is it brushes against the fourth wall but doesn't break it.
Right.
So when the Doctor sees Sarah Jane Smith for the first time, you can really see David Tennant fanning out over Elizabeth Sladen.
Yes.
He does it so well, he's playing it, but you can really see that it's oh my gosh, I get to act with Sarah Jane Smith. This is amazing. He really has it. That's not what I'm going to play. But the other part of it is actually a really good Doctor Who episode. In addition to having all of this great emotional connection into the past and everything, and these really good performances, it's a really good science fiction story of using kids to manipulating their brains and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
And we get to see and continuing on the theme of the vengeful god, we get to see Anthony Stewart Head and David Tennant go head to head in the scene, and so that's the one I pulled.
Gotcha.
So this is a great little scene of the two of them sort of squaring off.
And what of the Time Lords? I always thought of you as such a pompous race. Ancient, dusty senators, so frightened of change and chaos. And of course, they're all but extinct. Only you, the last,
This plan of yours, what is it?
You don't know.
That's why I'm asking.
Well, show me how clever you are. Work it out.
If I don't like it, then it will stop.
Fascinating. Your people were peaceful to the point of indolence. You seem to be something new. Would you declare war on us, Doctor?
I'm so old now. I used to have so much mercy. You get one warning. That was it.
But we're not even enemies. Soon, you will embrace us.
I used to have so much mercy.
No, great. I'm glad you pulled that one. It gives you definitely a window into the psyche of the 10th Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So you understand. I love that. That's all a tapestry woven throughout the whole season, which is fantastic. And you're still getting, and I love when I think this is interesting in that very few times do you get the Doctor to confront a villain who has the same level of intellect.
That's true.
I really enjoy when they have a villain who knows more about the Doctor than almost he knows. And I know, and I think that's great. Everything about this episode is entertaining and enthralling and gets you more into the mythology of the series.
Yeah, and Mickey Smith gets to join the group. He becomes an actual full-on companion.
He does well. He uses a car in a very good when he bashes in the doors.
That's right. Yeah,
he's finally growing up from being an observer to I can actually take action and help, which is great.
And even though he is the still considers himself the tin dog.
No, it's
very much.
I like that. Yes,
part of the team. Yeah. It's a really it's a great episode and amazing for this early on. I mean, it's episode 3.
Well, now I've heard that
it's so good.
When Russell Davies pitched, when he was actually talking about taking over the show or bringing it back, I should say, this was one of the ideas he had originally, I guess, in the back of his head. So he had this episode baked for a long time.
Okay, yeah, I think it was originally it was supposed to be at like a military installation, but then they sort of had this school idea that was kicking around. So I think he combined those two.
No, really well done. And I'll say this, really cool way to set up. Obviously at the end he has the final goodbye with Sarah Jane, which is beautiful, and the new canine. One of the better episodes of setting up that, like, if you're going to do a spin-off series, this intentionally or not, this is a good way to actually do it where it doesn't feel heavy-handed.
Yeah, very true. All right, so we move on to episode 4, The Girl in the Fireplace, ultimately known as
A Clockwork Cyber Orange, Love Never Dies.
Is that colon, Love Never Dies?
No, Love Never Dies. I should say those. Okay, really cool episode.
Wow, once again, this is Stephen Moffat, man. Like, when he's on, he is on.
I'll tell you, I mean, really awesome. Interesting, though, the further development of romancing the Doctor.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely a theme through this whole season of the sort of the love life. I mean, we got to see Cassandra laid a big smooch on him in the first episode. It very much is a recurring thing, much more than there was with Christopher Eccleston, even though he got kissed a couple of times too. There is much more of a Casanova vibe from his previous role as Casanova, infecting this. Like, he's very much a romantic hero.
Well, and you're clearly with Moffat, which is true. You're planting the seeds of the River Song story arc.
You can see that you can see a lot of that in here. A love story told out of order of the Doctor dipping in and out of someone's life. Like, yeah, you can see
I was just going to say this is a total precursor to a big part of the Matt Smith era, which obviously we'll get to.
Yeah,
and we also have one of the greatest social suggestions of all time, which is to always take a banana to a party.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, when they do the top 10 lists of Doctor Who, from 9 on, this is always on the list and well deserving of that place. It is a tremendous episode. Like, it's so well thought out. And in addition to being the French side of it, the romantic and the Doctor riding a horse into a party and fighting robots and stuff too, you also have this weird dark side of the robots using parts of bodies to repair the ship.
Right.
Like, and there's a nice mystery, and there's the whole mystery is that they leave. They're, they have this sort of sad end to the story. That Madame de Pompadour lived this amazing life, even though her life was cut short. But then they leave in the TARDIS. They leave the ship, not knowing what's going on. And it's only the audience who gets to find out the reason why they were so after her is because the ship was named after her. But the Doctor and companions never figured that out.
I'll tell you, and the other thing, and I know we kind of joked about this from the Christmas Invasion on, another super terrifying imagery.
Yeah,
like those mechanical robot dudes. Those are, again, if I were 7 years old, those would be in my nightmares for weeks after this episode.
Yeah, and the you hear the sound, like under the clock has stopped, and yet you hear the clicking because it's under the bed, and I mean that's like another classic horror trope.
Again, phenomenal episode. For me, the season then takes a turn.
Yes, this is the high point. Episode 4, we went with a timeless Doctor Who episode that will stand for all time, and then we pivot and we head down and down and down, and literally,
and I mean literally, I can't tell you how ridiculously down we go.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it. All right. So we have Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel, alternately known as
Maximum Overdeletion. and let's just put it together: Age of Steel, Maximum Overdeletion 2, Delete Harder.
Now, it's amazing. Like on paper, this looks great. Like the Doctor goes to an alternate dimension, and there's an alternate reality version of the Cybermen, and everybody has doppelgangers in this universe, and Rose's dad issues come up again, and like all this stuff. And it just doesn't work. Like I give them props for making the Cybermen legitimately creepy. Like instead of just they in the other ones, they were just sort of this relentless, it was the unstoppable nature of them. It was just robot army, robot. In this one, they've added the horror element of people are forcibly, against their will, transformed into these things. And so there are people inside of them. So that makes it I think that's what it was before, but I'm saying they explicitly go out of the way of in showing the cutting blades and things too, of saying, this is what your neighbor who you were friends with. Now it has no emotions and it wants to kill you. Okay, that's a legitimately horror thing, and it's scary stuff too. But boy, it just doesn't work. It's like, I guess maybe it's because I'm not as emotionally invested in Rose's family situation.
Oh no,
I don't know if that's on me or if the show or what, but it's like, boy, they just keep playing those same notes over and over again.
I can't say this enough. I do not care about Rose's mom.
Yeah,
I don't care at all.
Basing all this stuff on them, like an alternate reality version of them. Okay,
don't care. This, and I'll tell you what, where they lost me early on, the Rise of the Cybermen, the first episode, has one of the worst death scenes ever. When the main guy who's trying to bring the Cybermen back, and he has his assistant, and he turns around and says, "We don't need you anymore," and they kill that guy, that scientist. And he contorts his mouth in like a way that you would when you were on the playground in like second grade. And I was like, okay, we're done. And I'll tell you this, I really, really, and this is something I always thought when I used to see images of these, I really, really don't like this version of the Cybermen.
Oh, really?
Don't like the costume design. Okay. And I know this, they even get more like this. They look like they spend too many leg days and not enough arm days at the gym. And they just don't. I don't get it. And the only thing cool, my only note, the only thing cool in this two-parter is the Mickey and Ricky.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's the only thing I got out of this that I loved.
Yeah, that he gets to see an alternate version of himself who's tough and take charge and a badass. And
yes, who's awesome.
Yeah, and then go like, oh wait, I could do that too, and ends up going, yeah, well, I guess I will be that too, because this world needs another Smith.
Because I mean, here's the deal. I mean, like, look, the way I would sum these two up is like, okay, the first episode ends with which purportedly would think would be one of the greatest cliffhangers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We're all surrounded by Cybermen. Yeah. We surrender. They don't care. We're going to die.
Yeah.
And the resolution of that is the Doctor destroys them all with an overcharged battery. Okay.
I had it in my pocket.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I was done.
I've said that they found a way to bring the Daleks back and make them scary again. So it wasn't just like clearly a guy, shuffling his feet in a big pepper pot. They've made them scary again, and they tried to do that with Cybermen, and I don't think it really worked. Like, I'm not really scared. Like, they're not really a scary monster. We're going to see some scary monsters here in Doctor Who, and the Cybermen are a longtime villain. They bring them back, and you kind of go, okay, they're robot guys. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've seen the Borg, and like these like the Borg are way scarier than these guys, and they just keep bringing them back, and every time they come back, it's like, okay, this again. All right.
They don't feel, and honestly, I really honestly don't think they get the Cybermen right until Capaldi.
Yeah, I agree. Because then they're scary again.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so and also another Harry Potter Doctor Who crossover. There's the main guy who becomes a cyber controller. That's Cornelius Fudge.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
right. His tiny little mustache. So yeah, so then we now say, oh yeah, and one of the things that they establish here that is a recurring thing that will become hugely important in the Capaldi era is the Doctor cannot reverse the cyber process. Like, once a person has been converted to a Cyberman, that's it. Right. There's no coming back. This actually becomes a big recurring thing in Torchwood as well, and they couldn't crack it either. And then even and to his, as we'll see in Capaldi's era, this becomes a major plot that once you go through it, you can't come back.
There are no Locutuses.
No,
Doctor Who.
So yeah, and then we say goodbye to Mickey. So Mickey's off in an alternate universe, and we'll never see him again. No. Of course.
Yeah.
Russell Davies loves his people,
but that's okay though, because now he's kick butt Mickey, and I'm good with that.
Yes. But next time he shows up, he is like full on into his role as a badass action hero. So we move on to the Idiot's Lantern, also known as
Doctor Forever. Edward Nygma returns.
Oh boy! This is a Mark Gatiss episode. I mean, for God's sake, he's a great writer, and shortly will go on to create Sherlock, in the timeline thing. But boy, this just doesn't work at all.
I'm seriously not kidding. This is literally could have almost been the Batman Forever of the franchise.
It could have been, and unfortunately, that episode is coming.
Oh yeah, well, that's true.
In a couple episodes here, like this thing, boy, this was the worst episode of Doctor Who. Oh no, my friend.
Hold my beer.
Coming.
Hold my beer. Let's wait. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, like I give them props for trying to do something more, like obviously he's in there's a lot of the whole domestic situation and this family and they're going through, but it's just a TV stealing people's faces.
The only thing, when Betamax cassette plays into a high part of the plot. Yeah, no. The only good redeemable part of this is it does continue a very it does have a good child parent narrative.
Yes.
And it continues a good story arc of Rose. That's the final scene
Very true.
Where she tells the boy, "Look, your father may be a fink. You know what? Go do what you got to do."
Mm-hmm.
That actually, that's the only redeeming part of this episode. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess if it had been a stronger villain or a creepier one or more compelling, maybe that would have elevated the family stuff more. But it was sort of like I'm bored with the monster and I'm bored with the family. So it's like going back and forth, like, oh, they're cutting away to this. Oh, they're cutting back to that.
Don't you feel like that conversation was held at like around a writer's table, and the person who was defending the story went, "But no faces."
don't you see? They're people, but they don't have faces anymore.
That's it. And you're like, okay, let's do it.
Okay, that's a good thing for the 30-second promo of like they all turn around and don't have faces, and they all reach out. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's gonna look really good. Yeah. Hungry? No, just no. But oddly, this sets up a recurring thing. Magpie Electronics becomes a running background thing for the rest of the series.
That's funny, yes.
Yeah, it's just like one of those like, oh, from this? Okay. But, oh well, yeah, there's really nothing to say about Idiot's Lantern. So let's move on to oh God, this is such a painful run of episodes. It's like I don't know what was going on, but boy, the thing is, Billy and David are soldiering the way through it. Like they are really good in all these episodes. They are 100% Doctor and Rose. They're not phoning it in at all.
Well, they're the only reason why obviously the show continues to get better.
Yeah,
because they're marching on and they're doing a great job.
And you notice that I have no audio pulled from any of these, and that's true. Like I was like looking at them, like I'm like looking for something I could even to talk about, and Nothing. Like I got nothing that was more than a line or two.
The only thing, okay, but even like when you get into this one, the only thing that you do still have is there's still some good humor.
Yes, absolutely.
Even
there still is that lighthearted, adventurous sort of spirit between the Doctor and Rose. So as they venture to the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, alternately known as
Oodles of Oblivion. I couldn't. I mean, seriously, the Ood. That's the only thing you get out of this.
Oodles of Oblivion.
And the Satan Pit, which I call the Balrog Exorcist.
Oh, that's a much better title. I like that, the Balrog Exorcist. I want to make shirts of all these alternate titles.
And you got. I mean, seriously. Okay, first one, the Impossible Planet. Man. I don't even still get it.
I watch it and go, what? Like, what are you talking about? Okay, so every once in a while, a Doctor Who episode will clearly wear its references on its sleeve. And so this is one of those things where it was like somebody clearly pitched like, okay, what if it's the Doctor, but in Doom?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, do that, go that, write that. And it's like, why? Like we're coming off of a pretty rough two-parter. Like I really think they could have done the Cyberman, Return of the Cybermen, and Age of Steel in one episode. And same thing with this one. Boy, they could have done this as one episode. Why in the world is this 2 episodes?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly it was like, okay, so it's it is Doom. It is 100% Doom, and they then put the Doctor in it, and then let's see what happens. Well, what happens is not really a very interesting story. The Ood come out of this, and you're right, the Ood is great. The Ood are great. They become a recurring thing. We have the spacesuits that the Doctor wears. Like that spacesuit, it would be the same spacesuit he wears through pretty much the rest of the series.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Like there's really, I mean, like it's, I like a Doctor Who episode where he goes to a ship or a colony or whatever, and it's a group of people who are doing something like this is their job. And we're going to see this again and again and again.
Oh, sure, but my God, this is
and this is I think the worst example of that.
And yet still, still with these terrifying moments, like what is it in the Satan Pit when the one guy gets all the writing appears on him and he basically turns into a demon, and that's where I put the Exorcist part. Like again, if I were a 7-year-old kid, I'd go, not only have you confused me, not only do I know what's going on, I'm not going to sleep anymore. Like seriously,
because I mean they do a nice thing of like making the Ood scary, even though they're not. I mean, like they're
not.
They first show up, the first time you see them, scary monster, tentacle face, and they're like, oh no, they're really nice, and they're there to help and everything. And then it's like, oh yeah, they also can be possessed by the ultimate evil or the devil or whatever they.
Anyway,
the first man.
So tell me, it can't get any worse, right?
Well, I mean that has to be like the Satan Pit, like literally the Doctor confronting Satan on an asteroid. That has to be the bottom of the barrel, right? That's that lowest season to go.
No way. It's all up from there.
Oh wait, there's more. I don't think there's a Whovian out there who will argue that this next episode is the worst episode of Doctor Who since the reboot. Love and Monsters, also known as.
Okay, there's two titles. The first one.
Really two.
There's two. But here's the first one.
Okay.
Nodding Silent Hill Slobber Jabba Knockers. Or if you just want to make this a lot simpler, Face on the Ass. Because really, and here's the deal. The backstory? The backstory of the design for the monster is from like a 7-year-old who won a drawing contest.
Yeah, this is well, we talked about this last season a little bit too. This is part of the Doctor Who time frame. This is called what they call double banking. So double banking is they're shooting multiple episodes at the same time, and because most episodes involve the Doctor and his companion, they're not available at the same time. So a lot of times, for the double bank, they'll have just the Doctor or just the companion show up. Sometimes it's neither. And so you look at this and you go like, oh, that's a terrible idea. Why would they ever have an episode of Doctor Who without the Doctor being in like 90% of it? And then you look at something called Blink and you go, oh, it can be done. And it can be done really well.
Oh, it can be done.
Or it can be done like this, which is terrible. Oh God, the only things that come out of this. First of all, it's a bad use of actors because there are 2 pretty significant actors in this. There is the lead actor. I forgot I didn't write his name down, but the lead actor is in a show from the BBC called Hustle. He plays Danny Blue in that. It's a show about con men. It's sort of like the British version of Leverage.
Oh, okay.
And it's fantastic. Like, I recommend anybody go see that. You're going to see a lot of faces probably from Doctor Who and stuff, and Harry Potter show up in it too. It's a really, really great show, and he's really good in it, but not here. And then also Moaning Myrtle is also in this too, another Harry Potter connection.
Oh, yes.
There's one significant piece of Doctor Who lore connected to this episode, and then nothing else. And this is the only episode where all 4 of Russell T Davies' arcs are mentioned.
Oh.
So this is that goes against my theory of him winging it. Which is not a slam at all. He's like a good dungeon master, but he mentions all 4 of the things he'll eventually get to. He mentions Bad Wolf, Torchwood, Mr. Saxon, and the missing planet. In this case, it's Clom, but there's the fact that there's a missing planet that becomes very, very important later on in things. So all 4 of his season-long arcs are in this episode. So clearly, he was thinking ahead.
Yeah, it still doesn't.
And it's just god awful. Like,
my only other thing is, well, I mean, when you use "tastes like chicken" in your script, you're just like, okay, that's it, right?
And then you have to. And then they force you to think about what a love story with an animate piece of concrete would be like.
That ending
don't put that in my head
is incredibly awkward. I had a note. That's really, really awkward. That piece of tile does not need to be in his lap.
No,
for obvious reasons. We don't need to get into that.
I don't want to.
I don't want any part of this. Nope, I'm done. The only thing that's funny is that when David Tennant shows up at the end, he comes out of the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
I literally think they didn't tell him what the episode was about. Because the look on his face.
Why give him a script?
No. And they didn't tell him. I think they told him there's going to be a small child eating an ice cream cone, like at the end of the alley. Because when he comes out of the TARDIS and he delivers his lines, he literally has the look of, what the hell is this on my face? Like, wait a minute. What am I looking at?
Well, don't worry. He's looking at a tennis ball, most likely.
Or something. But anything could have been better than that. Anyway, I'm done.
Oh, yeah. It's just, there's not even worth discussing anymore. Yeah, if ever you're showing anyone else Doctor Who, just skip this episode, where you might end up like having them not want to watch any more episodes with you. So the next episode is okay. We're taking a step up, because obviously from Love and Monsters, it has to be a step up, and it's an episode called Fear Her, or ultimately known as.
Okay, this is going to be a weird one.
Okay.
Put down the pencil. Aha's revenge. Now, Take on Me, the video. Like seriously, it's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm all into it, but I'm just sorry, the ending kills it for me with the torch.
Yeah, I mean, it's for this story they're telling, the kind of a serious thing of what's going on with this thing, to then end it with like a gag.
Yes.
Like, oh,
that makes
okay.
no sense.
Yeah.
I think though. Do you think then they get like
the Doctor carrying the torch at them, because it's a great thing. It's almost like they worked backwards.
No, again, absolutely correct.
This is 2006, so it was 6 years away before the Olympics would be coming to. So they're like, oh, what's it going to be like in 2012? We'll do that.
And that's cool. And I give them credit, because I think that was kind of bold to say. Obviously, you knew you were getting it was already planned.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a neat thing to kind of be in the pop culture sphere of trying to get people excited for it. And I'm sure it played very well to that audience.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an interesting story. In terms of, oh, well, wow, this girl's sort of possessed, and she has this ability to capture people by drawing them. I mean, like, I get all that. It just, yeah, it doesn't. The ending doesn't do it for me, and it's weird. And maybe it's kind of goofy. I think this is really a goofy episode, leading into what is trying to be the two-parter for the season finale.
Yeah,
trying to make it very serious and
setting up for the big time epic clash we're going to see in the next one.
Right.
So yeah, that's the thing is it's not good. It's not necessarily really bad or really good. It's just is.
Yeah.
Like that. Pretty much, it's only known sort of now for that the Doctor carrying the torch. Like that was that's a very small part of the large episode. However, we do mention the Shadow Proclamation, which has become a recurring thing. Originally thought to be a document, but later on we'll find out it's actually a organization. Fear Her. I don't even necessarily know why it's Fear Her, but anyways, okay. So then we'll move on to
Fear Her from drawing you.
Oh, okay. I guess Fear Her because she can draw you and
Chloe
take you out of.
I mean, yeah, the title of Chloe draws you and you get sucked into a piece of paper. doesn't
So
work.
you should fear her. Okay. We get into the 2-part finale, and I like the fact that I always like it when they leave something to be a surprise, because the problem is like with the Cybermen, well, you know it was going to be good Cybermen because it's called Rise of the Cybermen. Like, and why would you, like, if you want it to be a surprise that it's Cybermen, why do you tell this? So at least this one they call Army of Ghosts / Doomsday, so we don't know what's happening at the start. Alternately known as.
So Army of Ghosts is known as the 10th sense I see cyber people.
The 10th sense. Oh, I like that.
And if you know, couldn't go with the 7th sense. I had to go with the 10th. Okay, let's just do this for. Okay, well, no, and then Doomsday, which I got to tell you, my title was Dr. Darko.
Okay,
it's really weird for me.
Yeah,
kind of I mean, the only thing's missing is Frank the Rabbit. For those of you who are Dr. Darko fans,
that's right.
Like, it gets a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Look, here's the thing. The whole thing. Obviously, I did not know this. Okay, I'll admit this. I actually didn't realize that this is where Billie Piper leaves.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know?
No, I thought she, for some reason in my head, because she is so adored by a lot of fan circles, I can't believe she's only in 2 seasons, because that seems really short. But when you look at this whole season, especially where it begins, I get all that.
Mm-hmm.
The cool part of this is, okay, you get legit Cyberman, you get a legit Cyberman Dalek war, which is cool. Which is cool, and it's well done, and it's total.
It's very much like you could see, 12-year-old Russell T Davies just clapping in glee, like, oh, I get to have them fight each other. Like, I mean, it's fanfic writ large. I mean, and God bless them for it. Like,
that's exactly how I would describe it. It is a fan fiction story of produced actually with a budget, and it's very interesting. It gets a little weird. Mickey is awesome.
Yes,
now Mickey is like Rambo, Rambo. Phenomenal, interesting Ghostbuster references.
Yeah,
and done in a somewhat funny and also in a somewhat really dorky way.
Right.
Which I don't know how to explain that. But still, I mean, it's still, and again, the humor. Okay, when they do the little montage of like the commercials, he's going through the television, finding out why are these spirits all around. And when they do the ghost forecast on the map, like I'm like, okay, that's legitimately funny, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, good humor. I just felt overall the season arc ends. It starts so amazing. It is so incredible, and it just gets goofy.
Yeah, and it gets in a lot of the family drama, and I like the fact that it could have just been robots fighting robots. And that could, but that the fact that he knew that this was when Billy was leaving, that they tied it into this overall thing of like, this is the day I died. Like, it's a whole overarching thing of like, how is it? Because from what we know of Rose and even of the Doctor at this point, they were never going to separate. Like, she was with him to the end. She's ride or die. Like, she would have been an old woman dying, like hunched over the controls of the TARDIS. Like, she was going to be with them all the way along. So it's sort of like they had to go, okay, how do we make it so that they're, without killing her, because you don't really want to kill her, separating them so that it is final, and that because both of them would do everything they could to get back to the other.
Right.
But now when it comes to destroying the universe, so they did a good job of building up the threat, that it was enough that, okay, so we have to defeat these 2 giant enemies, then what has to be sacrificed is that. And it wasn't even an intentional choice. They really were. They teleport her away. She's like, not this time, and teleports herself back. and then obviously gets sucked into her dad comes and grabs her right at the last minute. Another Deus says, what? But fine.
I think maybe the problem with it is there's too much to me going on in terms of not only the Cybermen, the Daleks, and you're seeing the Daleks in a really cool way.
Yeah.
But then they throw in the Torchwood Institute.
Yes.
And I don't know if I was reading about this. The Yvonne character, the head of the Institute. So my understanding is that was a bit of stunt casting on their part, because she, the actress, Tracy Ann Oberman, she's in like the EastEnders, like it's a really popular TV show. Okay, the way I would say it is, it's almost like as if Star Trek would have stunt casted Jennifer Aniston to do a guest spot.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of the 90s. No, I actually think, like, okay, I because that part, it's just too many stories and too much is going on, and you're like, all leading up to this incredibly emotional end with the departure of Rose and how all that works out. It just was like lots of explosions and running. That's how I kind of felt, like, at least for Doomsday. just like, okay, I get it. With again, a really cool fan fiction story of something that you would want to see, not done entirely well. And I wonder what the reason. This season is so perplexing to me because again, so good, and you just go,
Yeah, this is very big, but I guess it's like they have to. There's a lot of metaphysical jiggery pokery that has to happen because they have to figure. Okay, we already said they're in an alternate universe and that's blocked away, and Cybermen can never get out because they're in an alternate time, and we also can't go back and visit them because a void, it's been sealed and yada yada yada.
Right.
So they have the whole episode of Army Ghosts where they're coming back, and it's like, okay, we have to bring back the Daleks. Well, we can't bring back the Daleks because we killed them all with the Delta wave. So let's bring back the old school original Dalek, how they survive. And so you have to do all of this heavy lifting.
Yes.
Oh, also we need to establish Torchwood. Oh, also we have to say goodbye to Billy. Like, I give Russell a lot of props for, like, that's a lot of heavy lifting for a 2-part season finale. You got to leave people with, like a good feeling kind of thing to do. So, I mean, we get introduced, like, not only the travel between thing, but we got the Cult of Skaro, and we have Torchwood Institute, like you said, the stunt casting, like bringing in major people, and we get to see Freema show up briefly.
That's
lives and dies, and then eventually will come back, looking remarkably similar later on in David Tennant's run.
You also have a plunger death.
That's true.
Which again, maybe
everyone always make the jokes about the plunger, and now we get to actually see it.
No, but that was actually 2 bathroom plungers. Like literally on the sides of that guy's face.
Oh yeah, clearly, and we get to see another. It's interesting what catches on with fans. So, like, I have a Funko figure of 10 of the 10th Doctor.
Oh,
and he is carrying a surgery, and he's wearing the 3D glasses, which I think he only wears this. There may be one other time he does, but he only wears in this episode. But it becomes a thing. Like, there's so much fan art of him with the 3D glasses. And like Matt Smith and the Fez, like the very few times he actually wears the Fez, but it becomes a recurring thing. Otherwise, it's just a skinny British guy in a suit. Like,
well, I wonder.
It's a little affect. You go, oh, that's actually from this.
I've seen a lot of the Funko Pops and the art and everything else. And literally, when that came up, I went, "Wait, is that really where this is from?" And and it's it is funny how something that probably I'm sure when they wrote that and they filmed it, they were like, "Well, that's just a funny thing. People just go, oh, whatever, haha."
Yeah.
And then it sticks. And you're like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, you can see cosplayers and stuff. They walk around with 3D glasses. Yeah, and seeing multiple dimensions at the same time. I mean, like, it's very clever how they do all stuff like that. It's a void ship, and it's out of time, and like there's the Genesis arc, and I mean all this great sciencey nonsense that ends up bringing back Daleks and stuff too, and the fact that we have Daleks with names now, and of course now they get set back in the void, and we haven't seen the last of them. One of those will come back to play a major part in a future episode. But then of course, it all comes down to is after all that stuff is done and he pulls the plunger and everybody gets sucked down the drain, is that we have to say goodbye to Billy Piper and Rose, and have to say the Doctor and her are separated by they're stuck on alternate sides of an insurmountable void that neither can them cross through anymore. So I have a little piece of audio from the encounter on Bad Wolf Bay.
Here you are, living a life day after day. One adventure I can never have.
Am I ever gonna see you again?
You can't.
What are you gonna do?
Oh, I've got a TARDIS. Same old life, last of the Time Lords.
On your own. I love you.
Quite right too.
And I suppose if it's my last chance to say it, Rose Tyler.
And the music swells and everyone crying, and I imagine there's probably not a cut that a shot that they had done where Billy Piper probably wasn't just completely bawling.
Oh yeah, no. Again, look at here's the deal. As weird as this season gets, her acting gets better and better,
Yes.
and she really. I mean, no, like the stuff that she's done post Doctor Who, this is great. She really developed. It's interesting to see somebody like that develop tremendously as an actress.
Yeah,
it's great. No, that was good. Yeah, I just wish the story was a little more.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes these. We'll obviously get into this as seasons go on. Sometimes these, especially the departure of characters.
Yes.
The episodes get way too convoluted, and I just don't know what's going on.
Right. It's like, wish you could just trim some of that stuff down.
Seriously,
to make
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
But good.
Yeah, it's
overall.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's that's another one of those big emotional moments for fans. That was he going to say it? What was the the star-crossed lovers now on alternate sides of alternate universes.
I'm glad though they didn't. I'm glad he didn't say it.
Yeah,
and you certainly. I always when I watch that scene, I always envision in my funny self thinking, "Please deposit 25 more cents for your call to continue." Right? Because it's just funny. It's just the way it clips. Now, of course, though, in lieu of all that, probably one of the coolest cliffhanger endings of almost any episode. I mean, I think the whole introduction, the bride, all of that is done really well.
And like you were talking about before, another casting coup. This was actually one of the secrets Doctor Who managed to keep. The Doctor Who organization is notorious for not being able to keep secrets very well, and this was a big secret. So, Catherine Tate is a big deal in England. Like obviously she's not made as big over here, but imagine like you were watching, a Star Trek episode, and suddenly at the end, Melissa McCarthy shows up.
Yes,
you're like, holy crap, what? Like what? On this little show, it was that level of thinking that nobody knew this was going to happen. The bride turns around, and all of us are like, why is there bride thing? But all of England goes, what? Catherine Tate? How did you? What?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise. Everybody's like, "She's giving me the Christmas special." What?
Oh no, I think people were shocked when finding out she's not just going to be in the Christmas special.
Yeah,
I remember reading the stories where people were like, she's actually signed up to do this, like really amazing." And we'll get into this because her character again, amazing. Somebody going from comedy to drama, and also still maintaining a lot of comedy. Really, really well done. No, that's a great ending.
Yeah, as the Doctor's in this weird emotional thing of like going to be left alone, and I just love my life is gone, and what am I going? And I'm alone again, and so then now there's this screaming bride that's on his TARDIS. What?
Right. No, excellent. Yeah, excellent response on his part.
Yeah. It's a real. I mean, obviously the highs are so much higher than the lows are low that it makes it so it's overall it's a great season. But boy, are there some low lows.
Oh yeah.
And like, the only way I can't imagine ever going back to have to watch Love and Monsters.
No, not at all. The only way they survived was the sheer power of the acting.
Yes,
sheer power of the acting
because you're showing up for Ten and Rose,
and I would also add some really really smart placed comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you definitely made it entertaining. That I would wrap up the season as terrifying, funny, entertaining, and ridiculously goofy for the second half.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of wish they had almost leaned into that more. Like I think we could have gone through a lot more of those things. The Doctor fighting Satan. If he was like, okay, great, the devil, let's see. Oh, this will be fun. Like that sort of thing, as opposed to everything being so deathly serious.
Right. But really good though. I'll tell you what, the series obviously matures.
Yes,
you can totally see why it takes off where it's going to go next. And awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, I get to, especially a couple of those ones that really popped to me as being much better than I remembered, and then some being just what I remembered,
if not worse.
If not worse. Yeah. So, all right. So, thank you once again for coming along on this ride. We appreciate you listening. Thank you, Rob, for taking time out of your vacation actually to come and do this.
Oh, this is totally fine. You're very welcome.
So as always, like and subscribe, do all the things. I'm going to play us out a little bit with a song. I didn't realize this was song. So there's a at the end of Christmas Invasion, there's a pop song that plays when the Doctor's picking out his outfit and sitting down, and everybody's sort of getting very chummy and Christmassy and stuff too. I thought that was a song they found, but it wasn't. That's actually a song that they commissioned from Murray Gold to write. So it's called Song for 10, and you'll know it as soon as I play it. But I did not realize it was they said, hey, we want a pop song to end it on, and he actually wrote an original song for it. We will be back in a couple weeks for series 3, where we'll get to see what's going on with that bride, and then see the Doctor and his rebound girl.
Very nice.
And what that's being one of my favorite seasons. I think pound for pound, I think that next season has a lot more hits than misses in the next one. So we're gonna get this all play us out. So thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time in Time for 13.
Well,